Hi, and thanks for joining us for another edition of PACTV Community News.
This week, you'll learn about Pembroke's natural wildlife.
You know, there's so many people out there that want to save everything and make everything comfortable, and they have the Walt Disney scenario where, everything wild loves me.
And you'll meet an honored canine officer from Duxbury.
He's been doing this for the town of Duxbury for 10 years. At that point now, I want him to retire and enjoy his time at home.
PACTV Community News brings you to Plymouth's Art Stroll.
I want to say it's a New England tradition because it draws from so far away.
And we speak with our state representatives at a legislative breakfast.
Well, the legislative breakfast is really a review of what's happened in the past year at the State House and also what the legislators are thinking about for the next year.
You'll meet families with children who have a rare disease and find out about their battle to make a difference.
You know that Duchenne kids don't get better, they get worse. There are a lot of differences in progression, but they don't ever get better.
PACTV Community News brings you information about a Plymouth-based effort for women veterans.
Screening women and meeting women veterans, we're seeing that they really lack voice in this society.
It's coming up on this week's edition of PACTV Community News. A Duxbury Police canine officer is ready to retire. Czar, a Duxbury police dog, has worked many years in the town's department, and PACTV Community News visited Czar with his officer handler to learn more about his long and outstanding career.
Let's go, bud. What I've been doing since we got him when he was 1 year old, I'd always come out here. We'd come out at least once or twice a week and just kind of still let him be a regular dog, all the smells, and just walk him. And with all the stress that we put on him with work, it's nice to come out here and still be able to be a regular dog and walk. And he's still, it's still a working dog, so he's still always pulling. We don't put any restrictions on him with healing or any of that. I let him just do what comes natural. So when we got him when he was 1 year old, and I came over from Czechoslovakia. At that point, he was what we call a green dog. He didn't have any type of training or anything like that. Basically, he was bred for either military stencil, and he was bred for his genes that he has for either military or police. So we get him from over there. He went through, at the time, it was through Kenny Ballinger, Director Kenny Ballinger at the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department. And he picked the dog for the town of Duxbury as well as me for the handler. And at that point we start training, and it's 16 weeks of training from that point. And that's where we learned the basics of, for me to be a handler as well as him to be a patrol dog. Famous things that I'd say he's done recently with finding the suspect, but it goes back to when we first started. He's found missing people. He does feed off of my emotions, and I think so. And that's where we have to be very clear with how we train the dogs. Stand still. We don't want to show high emotions, and we don't want to show real low emotions. We want to be kind of constant throughout our training. I want to keep him steady throughout all of his career and everything else that he's doing. So he'll stay at home. My son Cameron has already said that he's going to watch him and take care of him when I'm gone. So we're going to have that.
He's a really great dog. He's like a normal pet at the house. He's a lot of fun.
Have you taken him out for a walk yet?
No, I'm not that strong.
He's pretty strong, huh?
Yeah.
And like I said, he's been doing this for the town of Duxbury for 10 years. And at that point now, I want him to retire and enjoy his time at home. It's a constant constant thing. We're always together. And like I said, I've always said it before, and my son Cameron can say it too. It's like, you know, it's a relationship. We're partners, and it doesn't just end because he's retiring. You know, there's going to be, he's still at home. He's going to be the family dog at the house, which he's always been. Yeah, he's retired, but he's still going to be protective of the car. So, the last 10 years, this is his calf. So he's always going to be like that.
Duchenne muscular dystrophy is the most common lethal genetic disorder of childhood today. It is a progressive muscle disorder affecting approximately 1 in every 3,500 boys, or 20,000 babies born each year worldwide. The disease causes loss of muscle functions and independence. There is no known effective treatment or cure currently for Duchenne. In 2001, one mom, whose son Jet has Duchenne, formed the Jet Foundation out of Kingston, Mass. To help find treatments and a cure, as well as advocate in government for needed legislation. A breakthrough drug now in human trial was discovered, but the journey to get it to all the needed children has been an uphill battle. We met another mom who has 2 sons with Duchenne. One son was eligible for the human trial, one was not.
My boys were diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy when Austin was 3 and Max was about 3 months old. The boys were diagnosed at a time where there was a lot of information coming out about Duchenne. The gene had been discovered. There was a lot of hope, but that hope sort of petered out for quite a few years.
I couldn't run around as much as other kids my age. Now it's now I'm in a chair, so I can't do all the other things that most kids can do. And I need help getting in my bed, getting in the shower, getting on the toilet.
You know that Duchenne kids don't get better, they get worse. There are a lot of differences in progression, but they don't ever get better. I became aware of something called exon skipping at one of the conferences, actually an Action Duchenne conference in London. And I met some of the companies that were going after exon skipping to correct the type of mutation that my boys have.
Before now, there wasn't hope for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. There were no treatments identified. So recently, just this past year, a company in Cambridge, Massachusetts called Sarepta Therapeutics began having discussions with the FDA down in DC about getting a drug pushed through an accelerated pathway out to those boys who could benefit from it. The drug is called eteplirsen, and over the last 2 years it has proven successful in 12 boys who are now in a human clinical trial.
Max was lucky enough to be one of the 12 children selected for that trial. Austin was not a candidate for the trial because the trial required a 6-minute walk test, and at that point Austin had already been non-ambulatory.
The drug provides a read-through of the chromosomes on a chromosome that produces the protein called dystrophin. So it reads through a bad exon, let's say, and then produces a truncated dystrophin.
About 16, 17 weeks into the trial, I started noticing some differences in Max, that he was not choosing to use his manual wheelchair as much. His hands seemed to be stronger, his grip strength. He was doing things like opening containers, not fatiguing, and that only got better.
I knew the drug was working when I saw my brother running around more and being able to keep up with the other kids easier.
Currently, the boys are on week 80 of taking this drug, and they all appear to have stabilized. Our message to the FDA now is that it's of an urgent matter to get this drug out to all the boys who are amenable by it.
Max is a different kid. At the time that he started the trial, he was entering school using a handicap bus, a lift, a manual wheelchair for most of his day. He was starting to collapse and fall a lot, and now he's walking to the bus stop with his almost 6-year-old brother, James, and he's climbing onto the regular school bus with the other kids carrying his backpack. But he is no longer using a wheelchair at all. It's been in our storage unit. We've been here over a month. We haven't taken it out of the unit.
I'm happy for my brother when I see him running around because he has a drug, and there's a good chance that I'll get the drug too and be able to walk and be able to be as strong as I am right now and be able to stay, be able to still go to the bathroom by myself.
While we're incredibly grateful that Max is in the clinical trial and lucky and doing better, and really, this is a life-saving drug. We're also incredibly anxious because his brother Austin is 14, he'll be 15 in December, and desperately needs to get started on this drug. Austin's a pretty able 14-year-old, but we know that that's not going to stay the same. This is the type of drug that stops the progression where it is. So we want Austin to be able to continue to have the abilities he has, to maintain his upper body strength, maintain his respiratory function.
There's never been a more important and hopeful time to donate to Jet Foundation. We need funds to advocate for this drug. Advocating for this drug will not only help Jet, thousands of boys like him, but it will also create a platform that has never been there before for rare disease. 30,000 Americans are affected by rare disease, and drugs are great, but if we don't have an accelerated pathway to get them out to the people who need them, that's really what's important here, and that's what we're fighting for.
We're trying to use Max and all the things that he has shown everybody about this, that the drug deserves approval, and that boys like Austin and Jet and others are waiting, and we need it to not take as long as it has been.
I want to be a wheelchair vendor, a mechanic, a mechanical engineer. I want to do psychology.
We know that the drug works, and it's really hard to just be patient and wait, and so we're not just being patient and waiting. We've been really advocating and hopefully shaving time off this, and even if we can shave days, it'll make a difference.
Plymouth's Art Guild held its 46th annual Art Stroll this month. Downtown Plymouth hosted visual art and art demonstrations showcasing local talent. PACTV Community News strolled the streets, met a few artists, and popped into the Plymouth Center for the Arts to see more.
Today we are having our 8th annual Art Stroll, which is part of the kickoff to the annual Juried Art Show, the 46th annual Juried Art Show for the Art Guild. And we have over 40 artists spread around town. We have music, obviously, you can hear in the background. And it's just a fun festival type event, and it's free to the artists who want to be out here and show us what they do creatively throughout the year. It's a lot of fun. But the Art Guild has sponsored this for 8 years. Richard, who's the president of the Art Guild, is really instrumental in kind of moving a lot of these things forward, these events. So it's really nice, really fun. We have an artist who does sculptures with paper clips, which is very interesting. We have an origami type artist that does small paper structures and paints them. We have those who paint on a slate, on wood, but then we have our traditional artists that do the watercolor and acrylic and oil. We have jewelry artists. There's one in particular who makes beautiful chains and necklaces from antique keys. And then we also have people who design greeting cards and small little trinkets, Christmas tree ornaments, I mean, you name it. And they're all over town between Leiden Street and Howland Street, from Main Street to Water Street. And North Street is really the main focus of everything. That's where the artists congregate even before they get started. So it's kind of the happening place today.
So this is our 6th year in this building, in this location. But inside, we have gallery events, music events. The Guild is in its 46th year. This is now their permanent home. And it allows us to bring the community together, the arts community, all types of arts. In other words, visual artists, performing arts, and music under one roof. We have several shows a year. This is a big one. This is our big annual fall show. I want to say it's a New England tradition because it draws from so far away, from all over New England. It's not just Plymouth or Plymouth County. We get people coming in from Boston, from New Hampshire, from Maine, from Connecticut. We get them from everywhere. So the majority just does come from the Plymouth area. It's a very big event.
And going forward, we have some annual events that will be coming up. The next big event after this is the New England Watercolor Society event. And it's a very prestigious event, and it happens right here. This is the second year they're doing it here at the Art Center. And then you go beyond that, we have a holiday boutique that's going to be coming up during the holidays. But then you get into 2014, we're already thinking ahead. And in April, we have it's going to be the 5th annual photography show. And that is a widespread regional show. We have people that enter from California, New York, New Hampshire, Maine, south of us, Florida sometimes. So there's a lot going on in the building. And then in addition to all those special shows, we have seasonal shows that are here all the time that our members, that guild members enter. And so we have art on the wall all the time. And there's also classes people can sign up for as well. So there's a lot to do here. It's just this tiny little antique building here that has a lot going on. And we are an all-volunteer establishment. Everyone here is a volunteer. We need more volunteers, and we have lots of fun, exciting things for them to do. And we also would encourage people to go to our website, which is plymouthguild.org, because on the website you'll be able to see what events are coming up. I think there's some historical background that's there to share with people that have to do with the historical significance of these buildings that are right here. The Russell Library and the Lindens Building are back from the 17th and 18th century, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So invite you all to come and visit us. We have a lot going on here, and share your art with us.
The town of Pembroke is home to a large variety of natural wildlife, and PACTV Community News caught up with Pembroke's Animal Control Officer to find out more.
We got white-tailed deer, which I'm sure everybody knows about. We've got coyotes, which after the last, I've been on almost 14 years, I've had enough calls so everybody knows the coyotes are here. When they first started showing up, I was getting a lot more coyote calls. Now it's kind of eased off a little bit because people now realize that they're here. So they're learning to deal with it, cope with it. And they're also learning to, some of them are learning to make sure that they don't invite them in by keeping their areas clean. Foxes we have, fisher cat is a new one that's up and coming. And the reason why it's up and coming is because back about 10 years ago, they completely stopped all trapping. And the only way you could harvest a fisher cat was through trapping. And because of that, now we have an abundance of fisher cat. What people have started to realize is fisher cat, they're not a nice animal. They don't like, they're not, they don't want to be seen. You won't see them with 2 or 3 other fisher cat. They're always by themselves. He's taken domestic animals that people feel the need to let out to, a lot of people, I'll get a call on a cat and the call comes up as, my cat's missing. And I ask them, do you have the cat out? Well, yeah. Why? It's a domestic animal. It's a pet. Why? Well, it has to go out to hunt. And I say, well, don't you realize that while you're letting the animal go out and hunt, it's being hunted? So, if you really want to keep your small pets safe, don't leave them out unattended, because they will be taken. And the fisher cat chase them up the tree and they can climb. So a cat can't get away from them. They'll scream real loud. I mean, some people have called saying that sounds like a woman screaming. And a lot of times it's a fisher cat. Foxes will scream during the breeding season, early part of the season. They have a real weird yip cry it sounds really different. I have a lot of problems with people that move out of the city. And I don't mean all of them, but I mean there's enough of them that when they move out of the city, it's all of a sudden, well, I live in the country, I can let my dog run loose. Where I lived in the city, I couldn't do it because of this and this and this, but now I can. So we have that problem. As far as Wildlife, I mean, we're going to see swans, you're going to see geese, you're going to see an overabundance of ducks in the ponds. And the reason why you're seeing that is if the ducks stay here past a certain time in the fall, the people start feeling bad. Well, they can't eat, they can't find food, they can't do this. So they start feeding them on the pond. You feed a duck on a pond or a goose on the pond, he's not going to leave the pond. And our ponds aren't big enough to handle a resident flock of geese or ducks or anything like that. And what ends up happening is it kills the pond with E. coli. And then you gotta remember too, a lot of people that live on the ponds draw their drinking water from wells that are 20 feet offshore, that are 20 feet in off the pond. Well, if the pond is loaded with E. coli, their water's gonna get it. So, you know, they really don't think. They think they're cute, they're beautiful, and they are. But everything has to, everybody that, you know, there's so many people out there that want to save everything and make everything comfortable, and they have the Walt Disney scenario where, everything wild loves me, and that's just not the way it is. I mean, a wild animal is a wild animal. You got to be careful for them, and you can't put yourself into a situation where you're going to get yourself hurt.
Each year, the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce holds a legislative breakfast to give residents and business owners an opportunity to connect with our state and federal representatives in government. It is also a chance for our representatives to discuss current issues with our local citizens. PACTV Community News attended this year's breakfast and spoke with our legislators.
Serving 9 communities and 750 members strong, the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce is a dynamic and ever-responsive organization. In addition to providing network opportunities, programming development, and business education, the Chamber is also really committed to legislative advocacy. And on that end, every September, the Chamber sponsors a legislative breakfast, an opportunity to bring business owners and legislators together to talk about issues of importance to our business community. And today, PACTV Community News is able to join everybody at the annual legislative breakfast here at the Indian Pond Country Club in Kingston. So Dennis, the annual legislative breakfast every year that the Chamber offers, tell me a little bit about this event.
Well, the legislative breakfast is really a review of what's happened in the past year at the State House, and also what the legislators are thinking about for the next year, and certain bills and legislation and things that will be coming through. It's really just a quick review of all of that, and some input from the community as well.
It's a very well-attended event every year, and small businessmen from all over the area attend. Can you tell me, what are some of the topics you think people are going to be interested in touching on today?
I think we're going to see some of the issues of healthcare, which constantly comes up, and now the implementation of the Affordable Care Act through the federal government, but also the technology tax that is in the process of being repealed now. Some things like that that really impact the business community. And I think it's important for the business people to understand that every one of these comments that they refer to their legislators count. We really need people to get involved in the legislative advocacy part of it.
So each year that I've been involved in the legislative process, I've had the opportunity to come here to kind of tell them what my perspective is, not only as a legislator, but also as a small business owner, and to share with them my perspective and how things are going, and how can we as legislators make the business climate in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts better for them to not only stay in Massachusetts, but to grow in Massachusetts. Tech tax, sounded good on the outside, but what were the implications of that? And the reality is that these companies, they don't just do business in Massachusetts, they do business, across the country, and they don't just compete with people in Massachusetts, they compete with people in other states. And what they were telling us because of the tech tax is that you now tax me for my labor at 6.25%. You're giving me a 6.2% competitive disadvantage to my neighboring business in New Hampshire and to my neighboring business in Rhode Island. And that was the concern, because we all know net profit margins are very thin. 6.25% would have been incredibly devastating. So we really want to do what's best for the business community. We understand that they are the job creators. They are the people that are creating and taking risk and creating jobs for our constituents. What is the best thing you can do for someone is give them a job? I think the biggest challenge we've seen since 2008 has been the lack of jobs, the challenge finding jobs.
So Representative Coulter, tell me, I know every year you do attend this legislative breakfast. It's wonderfully attended by the business community. How does this give you an opportunity to better connect with our local businessmen?
Well, Donna, this event is something I look forward to every year. We generally start off with the Senate President doing a state of the state as it relates to the business community, and then Representative DiMacedo and I typically get into issues that they may have some interest in. It's very important to understand that legislation cannot happen in a vacuum. Legislating cannot happen in a vacuum. The reason the tech tax happened, in my view, and my colleagues won't like it, is that it happened in a vacuum. And that I voted against the tech tax not because I didn't agree with it, I didn't understand it. And that's what happens when you make public policy in a vacuum, and that's why it needs to be repealed.
Tell me, in addition to the tech tax, what are some of the issues that you see facing our community and our legislators heading into this fall?
Well, we're always going to have, during these challenging times, budget constraints. We're always going to have the need to rebuild our infrastructure. We're always going to have our need to invest in education because that is what fuels future economic development. And economic development is always going to be at the forefront. Until everyone is working that wants a job, our work will never be done.
I'm now talking to Representative Josh Cutler, and this is your freshman term.
It is, yes.
So this is your first legislative breakfast.
This is my first time coming to the chamber here, and I'm very impressed already. We got a wonderful turnout. Looking forward to kind of mingling and talking to some local business owners and having a chance to take some good questions.
Now, we understand that the tech tax has been a hot topic throughout the entire summer.
And good news, it's going away.
And everybody is very happy about that. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the other issues that you find that your constituents and local business people are facing heading into this fall?
Sure. Well, I've been working on some local issues, in my towns. In Duxbury, for instance, oyster. The farmers are really concerned about what's going on with some issues with oyster farming, so we're trying to work with them to continue that. Just trying to with healthcare, changes coming through the Affordable Care Act with Obamacare, trying to make through work with our small businesses about that. So it's really, my focus is really local, trying to be an advocate for small businesses. We want to hear from people, and it's so important that we hear and know what's going on and kind of keep our finger on the pulse of what the business community is feeling. And so having these events really helps to do that.
A new program for women veterans is seeking volunteers. The Legacy Exploration and Preservation Group Project, sponsored by the Daughters of the Revolution and Bridgewater State University, promotes psychological health for women veterans ages 45 or older living in southeastern Massachusetts. These women veterans can share and preserve their legacy for future generations. PACTV Community News met some of the organizers to hear more about the project.
The organization has special project grants, up to $10,000 that they provide for historic preservation, patriotism, and education. I think the question became who was a deserving population to receive a stipend and have the opportunity to be in the pilot program. And I went through a lot of different folks, and one night I woke up and women veterans is what I settled on, and it felt right. And as we're screening women and meeting women veterans, we're seeing that we couldn't be more right. They really lack voice in this society as a woman veteran and as a woman, and they're telling us this would be a great place to talk with each other and to explore their legacy and to have some fun.
I believe that this program could be a great resource for the female veterans because it's important to preserve the history of veterans, female veterans especially. They've had different roles over time as far as during the different wars, and during peacetime they had their value was different, so to speak. So I think that just to show the history and how a woman who served 50 years ago as opposed to a woman who's serving today right on the front lines in combat, just to show the progression of how women have come forward in military roles.
I think they should get the same treatment that the men get. I mean, they're out there, they're fighting for us, they're on the front lines, just like the men are. And if they come home and they can't really talk to anybody, but with all these women that were in this Daughter of the Revolution, and then they can get everything out and talk to people about what went on over there.
I have hired 3 facilitators that are former graduates of Bridgewater State University's mental health counseling program. One lives in Plymouth, and she works and lives in Plymouth and thought that it was a great place, that there would be a lot of women veterans and an opportunity. Another site is Cape Cod. We have a Cape Cod resident, and Bridgewater. So there's a flyer that we've been giving out, and it has all the information about participation if you'd like to be interviewed.
I got my undergraduate in psychology in 2011 and then was accepted into the graduate program for mental health counseling. So I have a great interest in the military, and I want to be working with families of combat veterans who are dealing with PTSD. Dr. Bacon asked me if I would assist her in this project, and it just seemed perfect. My interest in doing some work with veterans, and the female veteran population was one that I hadn't had very much experience with. So this is pretty exciting for me. I think anything we can do for our veterans, and now I'm learning more and more, anything we can do for women veterans is very important.
I think when a person leaves the service, that they should contact, if they live in Massachusetts, they should contact the Veteran Service Officer. Every town has a veterans agent, and the Veteran Service Officer will have all the resources that that veteran will need, whether it's health care, whether it's educational benefits, whether it is filing for compensation or pension. See your Veteran Service Officer.
Thanks for watching this week's edition of PACTV Community News. Replay times are listed on our website, pactv.org. Just click on the PCN logo to watch individual stories or the entire program.
See us on YouTube by searching for PACTV Community News Channel. Like us on Facebook to receive previews each week with links to all our stories.
We're planning our fall and holiday editions of PACTV Community News, so send me your story ideas to kim@pactv.org and tell us what you'd like to see, or give us some feedback on a recent story.
And be sure to catch us next week on PACTV Community News.